So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon if you're watching this on replay, and welcome to GENCFO Talks. Now, today we're here to talk about finance best kept secret, and it might even be on your desktop right now. You never know, but we're going to come on to unlocking the power of ERP with automation and AI. But first of all, just to explain a little bit, my name's Chris Sargent. I'm the founder of GENCFO, used to be an FD, then in finance transformation. And what we're trying to do here is not have another boring leadership lecture or veiled sales pitch. What we're trying to do is talk about real things that you can do to help change things within your organization. Something that I call the role revolution within the digital finance function, which is something that hopefully we're going to all be moving towards in the future. Now, if you are here live, please get involved. Otherwise, you might as well be watching this on replay. And we've got some great questions, some great polls that you can engage with. Now, first of all, start using the chat, maybe introduce yourself, say where you are in the world, all that good stuff. But you can also use reaction buttons now. I think if I wave my hand, something happens. If you like what people are saying, then why not use the reaction buttons as well? The speakers and the audience can see that. It's also helpful to use the Q&A. If you want to ask us questions, and we'd love to get your questions, please use the Q&A box. Then I can find those a bit more easily than the chat. But do chat amongst yourselves if you agree or disagree or whatever with the conversation. And this is being recorded, so you will be able to find this on our community, and the replay will be available straight after, and we will mention the community at the end of this. Now, we have some fantastic partners, and NetSuite has an excellent team, and we've got a great speaker with us today as well from NetSuite. And if you haven't heard of NetSuite, where have you been? They are, as it says here, the all-in-one cloud business management software, and definitely something to look at if this subject resonates with you. And I'm really proud to say that the software is also community supported on our GENCFO Tech 100, which means that there are people within our community who use and talk about NetSuite if you are interested in talking to them first. You can also use the QR code to find all that information. So thank you, NetSuite. So I'm going to quickly frame this conversation, and I think this is such a pertinent conversation for today, and probably will be tomorrow and for quite a while, because I'm sure we've all been there. We all have a habit of chasing the shiny new things, and potentially the things that aren't quite here yet, things that are in the future. They're just a little bit more interesting than what I'm currently doing. But if we ignore what we've already got, then obviously we're not working effectively, productively. We're not being smart about how we work. And this could be anything from understanding what's in the ribbon on your Excel spreadsheet, understanding the ERP modules that you have, even like the setup of let's say an AP module or something like that within your ERP. All of this technology is there and potentially underutilized. So what we're going to talk about today is what ERP is today, and then how we can get the most out of it, and also talk a little bit about the shiny stuff, but frame it around getting stuff done rather than chasing the future. And I'm super pleased to have three amazing speakers with us, and they're going to magically pop up as I introduce them. We have Lubna Allen, who's Director of Finance Operations from EG Group. We have Vinay Handy, who's the Finance Projects and Automation Lead from LV Insurance. And we have Thomas Sutter, who's the Industry Director and ex-CFO as well from Finance and Global Solutions for Oracle NetSuite. Welcome, guys. We are going to talk about this and go into a little bit of detail on the subject. But first of all, let's just raise it up. What is the definition of ERP in our world today, in the finance function? Do you see it as just a sort of record keeper? Do you see it as a kind of automation agent potentially? Or is it something more than those two things?
Chris, thanks. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I think for me, ERPs, first and foremost, they do need to be a record keeper because that's the fundamental basics. But I also think that if you're doing most of your work outside of the ERP and only going into the ERP to post a journal, then your ERP really isn't performing to the best of the ability that it needs to. You need to get the best out of it because you're paying a shed load of money for it, but there's so much more automation that can happen.
Excellent. Fine, from your perspective, how are you defining ERP today?
Thanks, Chris. And yeah, hello to everyone that's viewed in and listened to this. In terms of ERP, look, I look at it as being like a data processing hub where we're converting data, more types of data that's coming in, into going through the business processes to then come up with financial events, like Nid was saying about journals and accounting, but then actually creating the real kind of management information and reporting. So that's, for me, it's more of like a processing hub.
Okay. Which obviously lends itself to all that other shiny stuff that might be out there.
Yeah.
Thomas, just basic definitions first. Like, how would you frame this as a technologist?
I would say, and using the same words, phrase slightly different, I would say it's a central hub. So you've got your accounting, which is the processing of all those transactions. You've got your finance, which is able to analyze all the reports and everything. Again, the ERP is that central hub for all of this. And you can extend this out then to the sales team and other departments and just everything else. So I would say central hub.
Excellent. So I'm just going to, I think we might have been a bit premature on the poll there, but we are going to bring the poll in now. So do look at your screen, and I'm just going to quickly relaunch that. So if you look at your screen, you'll see the question, how would you rate your current ERP usage? And the options are basic, intermediate, advanced, or not using an ERP at all. And the reason for asking this is because the obvious next question is, okay, if you think that's what an ERP is, then to what extent are you using it? And before we come back to the poll result, Thomas, what sort of changes have there been in the ERP space, particularly when it comes to automation for the finance team? And, is it scalable? Is it about tech maturity, the usage conversation, or is it maybe about leadership pressure? We don't want to be automating or anything like that at the moment. So what would you say the changes are on the ERP side, particularly around automation?
I think a lot of it is that take the previous age of ERP systems was more for your on-premise type. And so for that kind of age, if anybody's ever dealt with that, it was a very hard to code and script to do any of the automation. And if you wanted to change the automation. And what's happened now when you're in this kind of a lot of these true cloud type systems, it's not just putting it in the cloud, it's actually changed to where it's no code and low code. And really all you need to do is learn the system and being able to tick a box, things like that. And what you're doing is you're building out your automation for various processes. And that's where we're at now. And so a lot of people are thinking that it's actually we're only using it basic or something like that simply because they think it's hard to change. And if you have that right technology process people in place to where you yourself can make the change, this is going to up and go. That's where you go from basic to intermediate to advanced. But
Yeah.
you just need some time.
Yeah. I'm going to share the result just so that everyone can see it. And it's basically split between basic and intermediate. But Lubna, coming to you on this, right? As Thomas alludes to, it's a bit subjective. I might think I'm advanced in ERP, but then I've only done the basic course and I'm not automating anything.
I just think that a lot of ERPs, in my experience anyway, in the industries and sectors that I've worked in, is you rock up and a lot of the systems are built on processes that are historic. People have just accepted them and you don't know how to unwind it. And you don't know how to unwind it because you don't have the right strategy, the right tech, the right people in place to do it. So I think there's a lot of that in a lot of businesses at the moment, that people don't challenge that status quo. They don't look at it and think, how can I do things differently if you don't have the right people looking at that process?
Yeah. But I can see you nodding away there, and obviously you're responsible for finance projects. Do you recognize that?
Yeah, certainly. I'm just mirroring what Lubna's saying there. I think it's also about giving people the opportunity to input into processes, because a lot of processes have been defined over time. Systems have been implemented a while ago with certain investments in place over time. So yeah, you get to a certain state where actually you need to bring in innovation and technology to really move it forward.
Excellent. And Just as a sort of litmus test, really, would you define automation in ERP as a basic thing now, or an intermediate thing, or an advanced thing? Just to get a, I don't know this, I wasn't going to answer you this question, but I'm just curious.
I would say that it would have been perceived as advanced if we go back, say, a decade ago. But now I think it's a necessity within business to have smarter transactional kind of automation. It all lends down to really just interpreting all of the data and how you want the output to come. So as time has gone on, yeah, look, you've got to embrace the technology revolution that we're in, especially as accountants and within finance.